If you are looking to get the brand new limited time Seraphim Age Helm Universal Ornament, which means you can use it on any of the 3 classes, by the way, completely as a solo player, I've got you covered. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. In this video, we're going to go over exactly how the Call to Arms event works, how you can participate in the event to be able to get the helmet, and specifically what build you're going to want to use, what modifiers you're going to want to use, what activity you're going to want to run, and how specifically you're going to want to run that activity to get a high enough score to guarantee that you have enough points to get this helmet. So if you already know how the Call to Arms event works, you can go ahead and skip ahead using the chapters in the video timeline below to the modifier selections, the build, the activity, all that good stuff. If you don't know how the Call to Arms event works, I'm going to explain that briefly since this is the very first time that we have ever had an event like this. So like any other event when it comes to Call to Arms, you will access it by going to the portal and you'll see the event tab right here where you can select it. And specifically when going for the helmet right here, we are going to go to the bottom tab, the scoreboard tab. Now there's a couple things I want y'all to note about this scoreboard tab. First of all, you're going to notice that whilst it says the event ends in 12 days and 22 hours, that is Tuesday, November 25th at daily reset. It says that the rewards lock in 9 days and 22 hours, which will be at daily reset on Saturday, November 22nd. And this reads that 72 hours prior to the end of the event, community competitive rewards are locked and that you can reach the locked score target to receive better rewards. I'm a little fuzzy on what this means. My understanding is that this basically means that once we are 3 days out from the end of the event, the thresholds for what is top 10% score, top 1% score, all that goodness, those thresholds are going to lock in and you're basically going to have 3 days to hit those locked in thresholds where it will be impossible for them to increase. That's my understanding of it. However, on the off chance that I am misunderstanding it and that this instead means that the placements for everyone are going to lock in at this time on Saturday, on the off chance that that is actually how it works, be sure that you try and go ahead and run this and try and go ahead and get your high score before this 9-day 22, before this reward lock timer hits, just to be safe. Now, what am I talking about with the scores and the points and all that goodness? The way the Call to Arms competitive rewards work, specifically the Seraphim Age helmet, these emblems, these shaders and whatnot, is the Call to Arms is comprised of 5 different activities that you can see in the Play Now tab on the Call to Arms event. The Coil, Proving Grounds, Salt Mines, Heliostat, and a Cutting Edge Zone Control PvP mode. Depending on what your score is for these activities, you will get a certain amount of points, and the game will check to see how many points you have and compare that to everyone else who is participating in this event's scores. So as you can see right here, it says that for my score for the Salt Mines, 3.39 million, I am in the top 1% of players, and it is giving me 300 points towards my total point allocations because I am currently in possession of a top 1% score. As you can see here for the Seraphim Age helmet, you only need to have 100 points. It's worth noting though that as community scores rise, the base requirements to be in the top 1% threshold versus the top 10% threshold versus the top whatever percent threshold, top 30% threshold, those floors are going to rise up. And so it's possible that even though you get a score and you place into the top 1% or the top 10%, if scores continue to get higher, it's possible that you get dropped out of those thresholds. So you'll want to make sure that you keep an eye on this and make sure maybe you need to get an extra run in, get a little bit higher score to guarantee and ensure that you remain in that top 1% bracket, top 10% bracket, to make sure that you have enough points when these rewards lock to make sure that you get the Seraphim Age helmet, make sure that you get it by the end of the event. It's also worth noting that when it comes to the amount of points that you get, if you're in the top 1%, you get 300 points. If you're in the top 10%, you get 50 points. So your 2 optional paths to getting this helmet are either getting a top 1% score in any of the activities or getting top 10% score in 2 of the 5 activities. Today, I'm going to show you the best way to get a top 1% score in the Salt Mines activity. However, if you're struggling to get a top 1% score, this video will more than easily put you in comfortable top 10% territory, in which case you can go ahead and get a top 10% score in either the Coil, Proving Grounds, PvP, or Heliostat, and that will also earn you the helmet. If you guys want me to do a guide on how to get a top 10% score on Heliostat, Proving Grounds, or the Coil in the future, please let me know. Today, we're focusing on a top 1% score in the Salt Mines, however. And so the way that we're going to do that is we are effectively going to make it so that we are going to max out all of the modifiers on the Salt Mines activity to make sure that we get as many points as humanly possible, as adding more modifiers is going to increase our score reward multiplier, and more points equals higher chances of being in that top 1%. Now, unfortunately, the one hiccup with this situation is that power level does contribute to your score, meaning that if you are anything less than 550 power level, you are going to be getting less score than you could be if you were 550 power level. Now, don't freak out. That doesn't mean that just because you're not 550 that it's going to be impossible for you to get a top 1% score, or going to be impossible for you to get top 10% scores in 2 different activities. You might just need to get your power up a tiny bit, or you might just need to really perform well and take a couple of extra runs, make sure you get some good RNG to really make sure that you get as good of a score as you possibly can. It is also worth noting that at the current moment, this event does have 10 to 13 days left for you to get points in it. You have more than enough time to go ahead and grind out some power level, which is so much easier nowadays. All you have to do is do all of the nodes that have all these green engrams on them. Just cycle through all the ones that have 2 green engrams, 3 green engrams, and you'll get power so ridiculously fast so that you can get higher score on these activities. So we are going the salt mines, but we are specifically doing the taken version of the salt mines. If you are on a daily rotation where it is the dread version of the salt mines, do not bother with it because it takes so much longer, and every second that you save on your run is bonus score towards your final end score. As far as modifiers go, we are effectively doing every single modifier that gives us the most amount of green arrows, aka the highest reward multiplier. For Banes, you have options between Rage, Caltrops, and Threads. I personally think Caltrops is the easiest, but you can do any of these if you want to, as they all give 2 green arrows to your reward multiplier. Then for these 5 slots, we are basically going to fill them in with the only 5 green arrow reward multiplier, which is the Deadly Stasis threat that is available. This is the only 5 arrow multiplier, and then we are filling out the rest with the 4s. You have a couple different options when it comes to the 4s. In my personal opinion, the easiest ones to work with are all ammo famine, specifically because of the build I'm going to be recommending to you. Ammo is meaningless. I also think match game is relatively easy because there's not really any enemies whose shields we care about breaking other than the ones that have the same element as the subclass that we're going to be taking in. I don't find blast to be that bad at all. I do not find grounded to be all that bad. Other options are slow and small, where you have moderately reduced outgoing damage, glass cannon, where you take more damage. These ones I find a little bit more annoying, so I'm personally going with those 4. If you have a personal preference to go with some other modifiers, you are more than welcome to. When we go down to player stakes, each category is basically only going to have one option for us. On the time limit modifiers, we're of course going pressure cooker. When the time limit is reached, you're returned to orbit. We want to save as much time as humanly possible anyway, because we get more points the faster we do it. So easy added on points. Over here, we're going to be going with extinction. No revives if all fire team members are dead. Everyone is returned to orbit. Join in progress is disabled. Not going to be a problem with the build I have set up for you. You're not going to die. And even if you do, you lose like 2 or 3 minutes. You run it back, you hop back in, whatever. Also going with brawn. That is the only option here, as it gives double reward multiplier. Health is greatly increased, but does not regenerate. We have tons of healing with the build I'm going to give you. No problem. No starting ammo. Again, ammo is not a concern with the build, not a problem. And then finally, we have bow weapons only. This is the only 5 arrow reward multiplier option here. I know that might sound annoying, but with the build I got for you, you're not even using weapons. Down in the boon and event modifiers, we're obviously not going with any of these because all of these are only going to drop our score. So we want to dodge all of these if possible. We are, however, going to leave the event modifiers, though, protected and close danger trade-off, as these both give 2 green arrows to our reward multiplier. So at the current moment, with my account at 550 power, again, it's worth noting that your equipped power doesn't matter. At the current moment, I'm 509 power, but the score is based off of your account power. So because the game sees that my account is at 550 power, it's recognizing that I should get 550 power score-based rewards. So we're at 2.6 million right there. So with those modifiers set, what build are you going to be bringing in? We're running Worm God Caress, nice and easy. Melee kills are going to escalate your melee damage, higher levels of Burning Fist, grant increased weapon damage. We don't care about that part of it. It's just more melee damage. And then we're going Pure Hammer Solar Titan for 2 reasons. 1, it one-shots everything, and 2, it lets us cheese the boss so we can get a faster kill, faster time, even more points. So we're gonna go with Hammer of Soul. Your barricade doesn't matter. Throwing Hammer. I like going Healing Grenade just because of the Brawn modifier. If I do get into a sticky situation, having a quick heal button on Brawn is really, really nice. Soul Invictus is going to be a key for cheesing the boss because the sunspots are going to be able to break his shield so we can skip all of the mechanics. Also, these are going to give you restoration, give you some healing as well, help you circumvent the Brawn. We've got Roaring Flames, bonus damage damage on our throwing hammer. And then these I honestly didn't even look at before I went in. Char, Empyrean, Ashes, Searing. Probably fine, change them if you want to. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. As far as armor mods go, again, nothing really too big of a deal. I've got Dynamo, hands-on, the Siphon doesn't matter, double heavy-handed and a melee font, so I get higher melee stat when I'm armor charged. I've got a concussive dampener with some the resistances don't matter, you're not going to die. I've got stacks on stacks, so I get longer duration on the melee font, some recuperation, and then Reaper, time dilation, powerful attraction. Again, the mods really don't matter that much, you're going to be completely okay. Only notable thing I would say on the, or actually, I don't know if there's any notable thing on the artifact. I don't think there is. Maybe there is. If you feel like there's any notable artifact mod that you could run with this, feel free to be my guest, plop it on. As far as stats go, we only care about as high melee stat as possible and as high super stat as possible. Everything else is inconsequential, doesn't matter. And then we're of course running 3 bows, literally just to align with the bow weapons only requirements for the modifier that we have on. So we'll go ahead and launch up. I'm gonna show you exactly how to run it. While we're flying in, I do want to mention that this build, a link for this build, if you want to copy it, Destiny Item Manager link will be in the description below, right next to our Opera GX affiliate link. It is a completely free browser. They've been huge supporters of the channel, and every single person that downloads the Opera GX browser through that affiliate link and tries it out, and that's $3 for the channel, so I appreciate it very much if you wouldn't mind checking it out. Now, as you load into the activity, you need 2 different pieces of RNG to go your way to get the highest possible score. RNG piece number 1 is going to be the bonus objective that you get. You need to either get ability takedowns or combatants defeated. If you load in and you get weapon takedowns or precision weapon takedowns, you're going to want to just relaunch the activity because we want to run this in the most efficient way possible to save the most time, to get the most points. Therefore, we want to run it by just spamming throwing hammers at everything. Therefore, we want to make sure we have a bonus objective that will automatically be completed by the way we want to run the activity anyway. So just go ahead and respam, relaunch until you get one of those 2 bonus objectives. The way you're going to want to actually play the activity, to start it off, we're just going to sprint past everything. We don't really care much about these acolytes at all. We just want to get to this room with the thralls so we can start stacking up our throwing hammer. You might have a wizard as well that is void shielded. Go ahead and take care of her. But we're basically just throwing hammering a bunch of the thralls to get our roaring flame stacked up and to get our burning fist stacked up so we can one-shot absolutely everything. We'll take out the blight. Got another wizard. Take care of her. And then you'll notice that even though we didn't really bring any unstoppable stunning capabilities with us, we'll still be able to very easily take out this unstoppable champion, as our throwing hammer, when it's all stacked up, will kill him in like 3 or 4 hits. Sometimes you can get a little bit lucky and he'll stand in a sunspot and get scorched and get ignited, and then he'll blow up. But even if he doesn't, you're perfectly fine. These enemies are super annoying. You have to kill the dumb little robot drones with your bow. You cannot throwing hammer them. They are the absolute worst. My favorite is when the drones go into like the side of a wall and then you can't even shoot them. It's very cool and fun and interactive and engaging. I love it when it happens, and I hope it happens for this run. But for the sake of you and your RNG, I hope it does not happen in your run. Once we get into this room, it's going to be more of the same. We're like just basically throwing hammering all the weak trash stuff, get our throwing hammer stacked up. And as you'll see here, excuse me, kind of rotate around them, get your hammer stacked up, pop, 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 die relatively easily. Go ahead and take out the blight, and then we're going to go ahead and clean up every single enemy so that we can go ahead and take it to the next room. You can use your bow a little bit right here as well, especially for the enemies that have like a little bit of distance on you. No real reason to run up and pick up the hammer after every like tiny little scion. There's one thing left alive. I don't know where it is. Oh, I see you. Pop! 2 things left alive. There we go. Once you see the 1667, means you're good to go to the next room. And as we approach this section, this is where RNG piece number 2 is going to have to go in your favor. And unfortunately, this is the more annoying of the 2 RNG pieces. But if you want to guarantee that you get the maximum amount of score possible, you need the HVT to spawn, which is like the Vanguard's most wanted target. He's going to be at the bottom of this drop-down hill. It'll be a taken captain. And killing him is going to net you like an extra 400,000 to 500,000 points. He does flee eventually though, so you do want to make sure that you have your roaring flames and all that good stuff stacked up, but he'll be in this room right here. So if you if you load in and you do a run and you get to this room right here and you notice that he's not in here, if you want the maximum absolute highest amount of score possible, just reload and come back again until you do eventually get him. Now, I'm not going to say that 100% verifiably that it's mathematically impossible to to get a top 1% score without having to run with the HVT, because at the current moment, top 1% is like 2.7 million. I had a 2.9 million run without getting the HVT. So at the current moment, it is mathematically possible. I just don't know what the scores are going to look like as the days continue to go on. So we'll just kind of see. But if you really want to be super safe and guarantee that you're going to have a top 1% score, just go ahead and keep running until you do eventually get him. Be very careful of this Unstoppable taking Phalanx, because he likes to boop you like into these walls, since this is a very tight and compact area. And I've already like had to redo this particular section of the video like 5 times because I unironically got one-shot physics bopped by him into the wall 4 times. Not afraid to admit it. He sucks and I hate him. And you'll probably hate him too, because he'll probably bop you at least 1 time. He's annoying. Not a good time. But anyway, like, you know, same business as usual. Kill everything with a throwing hammer, kill the blade, kill the enemies. You can use the bow as well. You do kind of want to make sure that you maintain your stacks though, so do try and get a couple of kills with the throwing hammer as you work your way into this final area. And then boom, right there. We can go in with a high burning fist stack countage. We can go in with Roaring Flames ×3 and make our way to the boss, which is where the sunspots are going to come in, because the sunspots are going to instantly drop his immunity shield that appears at 25% HP and 75% HP. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a throwing hammer kill on one of the acolytes so that I generate a sunspot right underneath the boss, so it'll take down his shield. And then for his other shield, we can just make a sunspot with our throwing hammers, and then we don't even have to worry about killing the blights. We don't have to worry about getting the little pool that lets us shoot through and take down the shield. We can just cheese his shield off with the sunspots, and it makes things nice and easy. It might take you a couple tries to get the hang of it and whatnot, but it's truly not too terrible at all. So with going slowly to explain the run and without getting the HVT, I just clocked 2.9 million, which at the current moment is a top 1% score. If I wasn't going slow to explain the run, I probably would have had like an extra 100,000 points or so just from doing it faster with time. And then if I got the HVT, I would have had another like extra 300 to 400,000. So I'd be sitting at like 3.4, 3.45 million. And that is going to be more than enough to make sure that you get 300 points through the call to arms node, which will make you eligible for the helmet, where you only need 100 points. Again, like I said, I'm currently at 3.39 million, and the cutoff threshold right now is 2.78 million, it looks like. That floor will continue to go up as the weeks go on and as more people continue to get better and better scores. But I would say, conservatively, and this is just a complete guess, don't take my word for this, but I would say if you can get somewhere in like the 3.1, 3.05 million territory, I would say that that is pretty reliably going to keep you in the top 1% territory and pretty reliably going to guarantee that you are indeed going to get this helmet. I hope you found this video helpful. Quick little recap: do the salt mines, load up on modifiers, throwing hammer titan, wait until it's taken week, or sorry, taken day, not taken week, flip-flops every day. Make sure you get the HVT, make sure you get a bonus objective that is either combatants defeated or ability final blows. Run it as fast as you can. Profit. Oh, also be 550 power or as close to 550 power as possible. And if you can't get a top 1% score, run it and get a top 10% score, and then get a top 10% score in literally any of the other 4 activities. Both of those methods are going to get you the call to arms helmet. Hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.